7:30 in the morning. Good that we're here.
I said, Mom, do you think the company's going to succeed? She says, not really. But we didn't give up. We raised more money. We came to Texas. We hired scientists. And I hold on to the mission of our company, you know, to replace petrochemical plastics, to improve the environment for future generations. But an entrepreneur's life is a lonely life. And if you're going to consider entrepreneurship, you're going to have to accept that.
When did you realize that?
Probably too late. Like, at 20 years old, there's not much you think is impossible. Ideas are cheap. They're not really worth anything. No one's gonna steal your idea. No one cares. You know, what's hard is execution. As long as you have money in the bank and energy,
Yeah.
there's always another chance.
Hi, my name is Kat. Join me on my morning run to talk about running, work, and life in between. I hope you enjoy this episode.
Good morning, runner viewers. On today's episode, on this morning run, we have Zimri Hinshaw, young but already accomplished entrepreneur who founded Rio Materials, a company that makes bio-based materials accessible for everyone. Good morning and thanks for running with us.
Good morning, Katya. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
Doing really well.
Thank you. Well, I was gonna start from the beginning and let's go to your story. How did you come up with the idea for your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So about 5 years ago, I was 20 years old in Temple University, Philadelphia. And I, before that, had grown up in Okinawa, Japan. My family's a military one, so we grew up in the Air Force.
Wow, nice.
Yeah, and while I was in Japan, I attended Japanese high school. And I got to hang out with all the kids there, and there was a group of kids specifically that was very interesting to me. And they were riding like motorcycles. They were super cool. And they used to wear these awesome jackets. When I moved to Tokyo, I saw that again. And when I moved back to the United States and started wanting to start different companies, my idea was I wanted to create these motorcycle jackets, but for an American audience.
Okay.
But I've been vegetarian and vegan for about 10 years, maybe longer now. So I knew I didn't want to use, I knew I didn't want to use animal leather or plastic. Started looking for alternatives to those materials.
Okay.
Really couldn't find anything that was worth doing, but then I realized that maybe that was a better opportunity. At the beginning, we started growing kombucha.
Okay.
Have you drinking kombucha?
I have.
How about you drink? What do you guys think about it?
I love it. I didn't know you can do
Biomaterials.
materials from kombucha.
You can. Now, that's not what we do anymore.
Okay.
The technology's changed quite a bit. But at the very beginning, I started growing kombucha biomaterials.
But why did you choose kombucha? Like, what was your thought process out of everything?
Yeah.
Why not beer?
Right. Well, kombucha, it's pretty unique because it forms a layer of cellulose, or like this layer of thick gelatinous, like pellicle. How do you describe this? It's like it looks like a sheet of leather at the top of the brew. And it forms that over like 2 weeks. And so it grows its own biomaterial in a way that like beer doesn't.
So when you had the idea, right? Okay, I'm gonna try. I mean, I presume you need to know some chemistry, or how did you, again, out of all the materials, what was your thought process in choosing kombucha?
Yeah, so the thing was I didn't know a lot of chemistry. And this was something that I found online that was kind of easy to start in your garage or your dorm or your basement.
Okay.
You could start creating tubs of this material without a lot of like scientific knowledge, but it was still kind of a very unique process.
Okay.
So at the beginning, my mother, who's a doctor, taught me a lot of them. She handed me the microbiology handbook, and I learned a lot of that, like early science.
Okay.
Luckily today we have much better scientists working for the company, you know, PhDs.
You sure do. I will definitely get there. That's why it's interesting to me to see how you evolved.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, so you started doing it from the kombucha.
Yes, under my roommate's bed.
Okay.
He was not happy about that.
The smell.
Yeah, the smell was pretty bad.
And then you go to the university.
Yep.
You develop this idea.
Yep.
And what's happening next?
So we developed the idea in the university, and then the pandemic hits, and everything shuts down. And I move into my parents' basement in Illinois.
Okay.
And the work continues. We set up a laboratory, we set up some grow containers, we keep doing the materials in the basement. We then applied to SOSV's Indie Bio program in New York. And you know, there wasn't a lot of companies applying for these programs during the pandemic because people thought it just couldn't be done.
So for listeners who are not familiar with SOSV, can you briefly tell us what's the program about?
Sure. So in the startup world, there's a few accelerator programs that will take companies really, really early in their development and give them money in exchange for equity, and they also run them through like a crash course on how to be a CEO, how to be a startup, how to raise money. The most famous of these programs is called Y Combinator, but SOSV's Indie Bio is also a very famous program that takes in, like, you know, they have like 3 or 4 different sectors. So biotech is one, hard tech is one, software is another, and they'll take in like 20 companies a year on each program. So it's quite a bit, quite a few. Y Combinator takes much more, but that's kind of what an accelerator program is.
So you get in this program.
Yep.
Why do you think they accepted you?
So we did a few things differently to get into that program. One is we made pillows out of this kombucha-based material at the very beginning, and we kind of sold them to a creative agency in Philadelphia. When we say sold, we traded them for photographs of the same pillows, but we assigned like a value to that.
Okay, that's
and said
creative.
We sold them, and that
pillows like a regular pillow.
Yeah, you know, like pillows you put on your couch.
Okay, wow.
Like leather pillows. And if you go on our Instagram, you can probably still see them at the very beginning.
Okay.
So we sold them to, like, we said, hey, we made this product and we sold it to an actual customer and they love it and they're using it.
That's a good way of
and
their attention.
And the second thing we did was, in all of the interviews for the program, we wore full suits and ties, which no other entrepreneur was doing.
Especially in your 20s, I bet.
Yeah, 20-year-old kid.
Why did you decide to do that?
You know, you want to make money, wear a suit. You want to be successful, you got to look the part.
Okay.
It shows that you're taking what you're doing and the other person very seriously.
That's very true. That's a good tip. Okay, so you got in, the tricks work. You start the program.
We start the program.
What did you get out of the program?
So it was supposed to be like a 4-month program.
Okay.
For us, it turned into more like a year-long program. We stayed in their facilities for quite a while in New York. I mean, it was a crash course on how to build a team, how to raise money from investors, how to build pitch decks, how to present, And they made us look like superstars. They had photo shoots. They made commercials and videos of what we were doing. Yeah, no, it was top of the line production. It made us feel like heroes and superstars, and it was super fun. So it was a very intense 4 months. It also taught us about, like, you know, reporting to investors and reporting to a board, and having to keep progress as fast as possible and show those deliverables, and show that progress to other, like, stakeholders that aren't just your own team.
So if you were to look at your cohort, and I presume there were other companies, right?
10 of us.
Okay, what was the age group?
Yeah, we had people who were a little older than me, you know, like there was people kind of maybe in their late 20s, early 30s, all the way up to their 50s. I know that in today's cohorts, they have people even older than that, 60s and 70s. So it really has all age ranges. I would say the majority of the companies were probably late 20s, early 30s founders.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there is no kind of, they don't focus on just young or mid-age crew. It's all about the idea.
It's all about the idea, and I think SOSV uniquely does believe in younger founders as well, which is, you know, great to see.
It is. It's very okay. So you go through the program.
Yes.
You at some point graduate.
Yeah. And overstay our welcome for another 8 months.
Hey, I bet it was very exciting to be surrounded by people and mentored.
Yes.
At that level, right? You clearly learned a lot.
Yes.
Is it where you got your first investment?
So the first investment came from SOSV's Indie Bio program themselves. After that, we filmed this really cool commercial in New York. We had a model wearing our clothing made out of our materials. She walked on the street. We filmed it. It's really slick. And it was about a minute commercial. And we showed it in SOSV's demo day, which is basically the culminating event, the big event at the end of the program where people show their investment. We got a biker coming. There he is.
Yeah.
So it's like the big event at the end of the program, and we showed the video at this event to hundreds of investors, and we were the favorite company. We got the most attention out of any companies. We raised around pretty quickly after that. We raised a little over $500,000 out of the program.
Who was the brain behind this creative ideas of
the commercial?
Well, the commercial, or even how you got in the program. I mean, you know, selling or attracting attention by showcasing the pillows. I find it's very creative.
So as the company develops, I'm allowed to take less and less credit for what we do because the team grows, and we get more investors, and everyone shares their opinions. At that stage, though, I feel pretty comfortable that I can take a lot of credit because it was mostly like a one-person team. I was doing a lot of those things myself. So the idea to sell the pillows was my idea. The idea to shoot a commercial was my idea. It was a ton of fun directing a commercial in New York, like a high fashion, hiring a model, getting the clothes, hiring a stylist. A lot of fun.
So those fashion, I guess because you said at the beginning you wanted to be a fashion designer.
You wouldn't know looking at my outfit right now.
Hey, 7:30 in the morning. Good that we're here.
I want to reiterate that it was daylight savings last night as well.
True. So that puffiness is quite okay.
But indeed, I did want to become a fashion designer, and the cool thing today is as the team's grown, you know, we're repeating some of our history. So we're shooting another commercial at the end of this month at the Houston Rodeo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's what I love. I love commercials because they're show a super strong sense of identity and place. So the commercial in New York, you know, it was really New York. It showed a New York model in a New York street. Here we're showing the Houston rodeo and the cowboy culture and country dancing, and that's just really exciting. So
maybe some boots later on.
we should, but I think it's going to be a leather jacket and a skirt.
We're gonna go here. All right. Okay, so you graduate from the program, you get your investment.
Yes.
You're in New York. You move to Houston.
Yep.
Why Houston?
Yeah, so, we had like, I think a little over $500,000, maybe a little bit more in our bank account. And I was thinking to myself, New York City was an amazing place to start a company, to get this initial investment, to go through a program like this. But is it the correct place to scale a material science company? And I felt that it was a little too expensive to really build something there.
It's definitely an expensive city.
It's an expensive city to be in, but an amazing place to start. But we started looking elsewhere, and I surveyed around 30 different cities for this company, and including, I think it came down to Austin, Houston, San Diego, California, and the Research Triangle in North Carolina, the Raleigh, Chapel, Durham Hill area.
Yep.
And Houston won. So, and I can tell you why.
Tell me, yeah.
Houston is incredibly affordable. It's got a business favorable tax environment.
True.
And low regulation, so you can kind of do what you need to do really fast, and the government doesn't really intervene too much. They kind of enable you for your success pretty quickly. There's also, the most important thing is there was an amazing talent pool of amazing chemistry, polymer science, engineering. Like, those people were here. And we, as a company, we could afford to give them a good life here, and something we couldn't do in New York. So those are the most important thing. Is it's affordable, we got amazing talent here, and we can get started pretty quickly.
That's good to hear, and we all love Houston. Maybe not from the beginning, but it all grew in us, and I totally relate to some of the things.
I mean, I was shocked at coming to Houston, how diverse it is.
Yes.
I had no idea. It's the most diverse city in the United States.
Isn't it great?
It's amazing, and I had no idea coming here that was the case. Our food is some of the best in the world.
Boy, yes.
And you can surf here, which I had no idea. Galveston, Surfside, Quintana.
Okay.
There's tons of places to catch some waves.
Okay, well, that's good to know. That's something new.
Most people probably don't know that.
Yeah.
But I was just surfing yesterday, and you can definitely surf in Houston.
Okay. So you start building your team.
Yes.
You are still young, in your early 20s.
Admittedly, yes.
And yet you're able to onboard the team of quite esteemed professionals, with how you said some of them being PhDs. I remember when I started my career, I found that it was hard at moments, being young, to earn that trust and have people who are more experienced than you trust in your idea, and in your case, even get hired and work for you. So walk us through the process. What were the challenges, and how did you make them? How did you convince them?
So the first person we had to convince was our senior material scientist at the time, now our CSO, Dr. Alex Kalin. S2SV taught me, they have a great video of there's a concert, like a festival happening, and there's one person dancing in a field, and they're dancing alone, and everyone thinks, oh, they're weird, they're dancing alone in the field. And then someone comes and dances with them, the first person. And after the first person dances with them, now they're two.
Okay.
And after that, 3 people, 4 people, and suddenly it's a crowd of people dancing, right? The hardest one to convert is the first one.
First one.
So I talked to Dr. Kalin from New York for probably 4 months, and the best interviews are the ones where you're not asking them questions.
They ask you back.
They're asking you questions. You're not convincing them, or they're not convincing you about but you're convincing them to join your team. Those are the best talent. And Dr. Kalin asked questions for me. How much money have you raised? What does the pitch look like? For probably a good 3 or 4 months.
That's good.
And I had been through the program. I knew how to answer those kind of questions. I convinced Dr. Kalin the same way I convince any investor. You know, we need to believe in the vision. We need to understand the mission to replace petrochemicals, materials. They need to care about those things and believe in your ability to execute. And so it was a 4-month process to convince him. After that, however, what I got to do is have a PhD scientist in my next interview. So then, yeah. So then, instead of me alone convincing our next scientist to join, it was me and Alex convincing our next scientist to join.
Okay.
So now you have a young entrepreneur, which you all backed up by an experienced PhD scientist. And then on the next call, when we were hiring our business person, now we had 3 people on the call, 2 experienced PhD scientists and a young entrepreneur. So every time you get someone else, it becomes easier to attract the next person.
That concert is a good analogy.
Yeah.
I'll keep that in mind. So now that you build a team, and I presume you'll continue expanding, what are the qualities that are important for you when you look for somebody to join?
The first and foremost is, do they believe in something bigger than themselves, right? Do they believe in the mission? Do they care about replacing petrochemicals, reducing the environmental impact of the materials that we use today?
Okay.
Is that something that they care about? Is that something that they're willing to dedicate a superior level of effort into? Because we're not looking for your traditional 9-to-5 person, right?
Yeah.
We want someone who's going to care about this and think about these problems while they're running on a Sunday. This has to be part of who you are, part of your lifestyle. That's who we want. Those really mission-driven people. So that's the first thing we look for. Other than that, are you professional? Do you think on your own? Are you independent? Can you solve your own problems? And are you fun to work with? You got a smile on your face, you got a positive attitude.
Yeah, that's important. All right, so let me ask you this. I find myself quite an ambitious person.
Clearly.
Yet, there are some moments where I question whether or not I can change the situation, right?
Yeah.
You're young, yet you had this idea of changing the market. It's a very ambitious idea.
Yeah.
And you're doing it. Why didn't you think that this was an impossible task?
At 20 years old, there's not much you think is impossible. And you sort of need that. Like, I didn't know how hard this was going to be.
Okay.
It turned out to be a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And I even knew that I possibly would think that it was hard from the beginning, and it was still harder than anything I thought it was going to be. So I think,
your hair is not gray yet.
Not yet.
You're doing great.
It's still blonde.
Keep it up.
It's not gray yet.
Yes.
It's coming in. I can feel it though. So I think this is one of the positions where my young age really helped me.
True.
Because you don't know what you don't know, but when you're that young, you think you can do it all. You think you're power. You're invulnerable. You're invincible. And you think you can solve the world's biggest problems, and I think that's like an optimism that is really admirable about young people. And I hope I still have some of that same energy today to approach problems fearlessly. The truth is you just have to, launch into the problem and get beaten up like 6 times before you can come back and do it correctly. You have to fail before you can succeed. And you need to have the attitude that you're willing to take those punches before you can, I don't want to use a boxing analogy, but here I am, before you can knock out your opponent.
Well, that's good. You said failure, so let's pivot to failures.
Okay.
I'm sure there were many.
Yes.
It's a part of the journey.
Indeed.
So can you share maybe some or the one that taught you a lot, and how did you overcome it? What did you learn from it?
Yeah. I'm trying to think back to one of our, many setbacks. And, I think at the beginning, I built a lot of teams of people in Philadelphia, in college, and then during the program. There's a clear difference between the kinds of teams that I built early on and the kinds of teams that we built here in Houston. And I think at the beginning, I was hiring people who were like me, young, maybe had a similar background in economics or finance, so my peers. And that didn't work. You need to build a team that's diverse, right? You need to build people who are different than you, have different skills than you.
How did you realize that? Or what made you realize that?
Well, I tried building teams and realized that with the teams that I built, we couldn't create good materials. We didn't have the science. We didn't have the experience. I was trying to talk to a bunch of friends or college students about what we were doing, and they didn't have any frame of reference to understand the challenges that we were facing. And so that didn't work. Back here in Houston, we've got a team, some of our people have 40 years of experience now. Some of them don't have that same youthful optimism and energy that I have. Yeah. But we balance it out with each other, right?
Yeah.
We balance the experience with the optimism. We balance the business with the technical.
Yes.
You have a lot more of that holistic kind of team building and thinking. And that's a huge mistake that we made, probably 2 or 3 times at the beginning of the company when I was practicing hiring, building teams, building people, building culture. So that's one thing that we've kind of corrected. There's many others.
Yeah, well,
there's a long list of mistakes.
I bet. Well, but I want to applaud you, because you seem to be very balanced in how you appear, right? You by now know some chemistry, clearly know some business.
Yes.
Clearly good at public speaking. How are you learning? How are you staying current, and how are you evolving?
Yeah, so I think it's, in this job, it's always pushing me to the limit. It's always pushing me to stay current. But what are some of the things that I can do? One is surround myself with excellent mentors, people who have been through this path before, people who have done this before. We have a lot of amazing community here in Houston that I've been able to surround myself with to stay current, to stay learning. Okay. So Robbie Pattater, our COO. Okay. He's extremely experienced, 30, 40 years of experience in business and development, company building, sitting on many boards. And he's now our COO, and he's my mentor. And that's been an amazing relationship to keep me learning. Here in Houston, Trevor Best, who is the CEO of Syzygy Plasmonics, which is a Series C or almost D company here in Houston doing photocatalytic reactions, so chemical reactions from light as a catalyst instead of heat. Okay. Cool company. And he is one of my mentors and one of our investors as well. And so surrounding yourself by really talented people who believe in you, that's one way to stay current. The second thing that I've done is sort of as a combination of I needed to learn some chemistry, and also I wanted to show solidarity with the hard work that our PhD scientists do every day.
Okay.
I audited organic chemistry at Rice University, which is totally out of my, right? Like, I'm a business person.
Yeah.
I'm an economics guy. I understand contracts and percentages, and but I sat every day, every Tuesday and Thursday at Rice University to study organic chemistry with Dr. Casey Lee Yurdy. So that's, I think, also what you could say current is learn skills that are outside of your wheelhouse. Learn skills that your peers, your colleagues know that you don't. We do a thing in Riom. I think we stopped doing it recently. We should probably start doing it again, which is a lunch and learn. So every month, one of our team members will teach the entire team the technical details of something that they do.
Okay.
So in my case, I taught people how to raise money. In Alex's case, he taught us about like polymer chains and polymerization, and we've done a lot of those like lunches where we cross-train each other.
It's very helpful, especially when you have a small company, to be able to support each other.
Absolutely, right. To support each other, first you need to understand what the problems that person is facing on a daily basis.
True. That's a good point. So, do you have a role model?
Yeah, absolutely. I have role models here in Houston. I look up to people like our COO, Robbie Patterter. I look up to Trevor Best. I look up to some of our investors, John Green, Eric Rubenstein, people in the venture capital industry that have helped us a lot. My role models are, people that I work with every day.
Okay. How about your parents?
My parents.
You said they were a military family.
Yes.
Again, I think I mentioned to you, I happen to be familiar with that type of business or lifestyle.
Yes.
And do you think they contributed, helped your success or not? Or how? Tell us about that.
They definitely did. I would not want to get on this interview until which my parents are definitely going to watch. I'd be like, you guys didn't do anything for me. It was all me. No, definitely not. So first and foremost, my mother's military career paid for my higher education.
That's good.
So my mother gave me her GI Bill, which paid for my college education in exchange for military service. So
that's super important.
Super important. I completed college without debt. And I don't think that puts me in an extremely privileged position that not many people have to go out and, when you're at zero, that's actually a very powerful position because you're not in the negative, you don't have to pay off any debt, and you have nothing to lose.
Yeah. Should you have the company and all those financials, I can only imagine if you had a school to pay it as well.
School debt as well.
Yeah.
I certainly am not getting paid enough to pay down debt.
Yeah.
And so it was really, really important to have that opportunity. My mother provided for me. My father provided a different kind of support. My dad was the one who raised my sister and I. Okay. He always taught us to be curious about the world, to ask questions. He encouraged creativity and brought us to art classes and made us play instruments. I played jazz trombone as a kid. I did ballet.
Oh my!
Yeah. So I think, the financial and the support from my mother and the emotional and creative support from my father produced an entrepreneur.
That's great. Yeah, well, your creative commercials, now I can see where it's all coming together, right? Yeah. Okay.
So I'm very grateful to both of my parents for their extremely generous support of myself and my sister.
Yeah. Well, and then the other thing, because when you are a part of the military family, often they travel a lot.
Yes.
So you as a child, of course, are there with them.
Yes.
And I find that some families prefer their children not to travel and be kind of attached to one school. Now you're there in Okinawa.
Yep.
Completely different culture.
Yeah.
Do you find that was helpful or not? Like, would you, if you were to do it again, and parents can be okay with you being honest, I'm pretty sure.
So, you know, growing up and moving every 3 years, it's a double-edged sword. There are some positives and some negatives. In terms of becoming an entrepreneur, it was a huge positive. It really helped me because every 3 years, you're adapting to a brand new city, sometimes a brand new culture and language. I speak a lot of languages. I had to learn a lot of languages. I had to learn how to adapt very quickly to new problems, to new environments. And that's absolutely helped me as an entrepreneur. And I'm also not afraid to move. So we started the company in Philadelphia. We moved it to New York City. Now we're in Houston, Texas. I wasn't afraid to move to the company to where I thought the best environment to grow was. We found it now in Houston, and I'm ready to, kind of settle in for the long haul. The long haul that is required for really substantial growth. But I think those things really help me as an entrepreneur. It can be hard too, not having a strong place of self or identity or place or home.
Yeah.
So you really are nomadic. You really kind of have to feel like you're home anywhere you are, or in my case, anywhere my family is. So, which is also moving and changing all the time.
Yeah.
So
that brings me to another thought or transition on loneliness. I mean,
sure.
That could feel lonely because here you are, just made some friends and you have to move, right?
Yeah.
And then the same in your journey as you're building the company and you have some setbacks.
Yep.
I'm sure that could be hard too. Have you ever felt that loneliness, and what are you doing to overcome that?
Yeah, so, most definitely, right? And in the same way that if the military talks about prioritizing or holding on to that mission of the military.
Yeah.
I hold on to the mission of our company, to replace petrochemical plastics, to improve the environment for future generations. And that motivates me through difficult times. And it's true, moving around, not having a lot of friends. The other thing that's helped me is exercise, right? Running like this. I've joined a lot of run clubs in Houston. Previously, I was running to stimulate ideas. At the beginning, I sprinted in college when I was trying to think about what ideas I could have for companies. Later on, I was running to just manage stress in New York. I ran across the Williamsburg Bridge quite a bit to reduce stress and kind of reset my mind. Here in Houston, my running has been focused on finding community, finding friends, finding people who think like I do. And I found a lot of those kind of people at run clubs, like the Good Guys Run Club. On Wednesdays, the Quarter Life Crisis Run Club, which is pretty appropriate for where I'm at.
Maybe we should go visit that one,
Yeah.
Is it just for guys?
No.
Yeah, okay.
No, definitely, everybody runs in both clubs.
We're gonna go here.
Okay, sounds good. So those are some of the things that I do to overcome loneliness. But it's
so you
go ahead.
That exercise has been helping you.
Definitely. But an entrepreneur's life is a lonely life, and if you're going to consider entrepreneurship, you're going to have to accept that. Like, that's one part of it that's not fun, especially in leadership, right?
When did you realize that?
Probably too late.
Otherwise, you'd be a corporate.
No, I'm just kidding. I have no regrets. I'm doing what I love, and I'm very honored to be doing it. when you're the CEO of a startup, you're in a cohort of one, right? Like no one really else is gonna fully understand what you're going through, your problems. I'm really grateful in the last year to have brought on our COO, Robbie Padditer, and to have that support of someone who's built and run companies before. Because and also with some of our investors who understand that pressure to help me kind of work through those problems on a daily basis. But it can be lonely.
Yeah, well, you're doing great, and I think you're giving some good tips. So I would like to get one more tip from you. I'm sure we have some listeners who have great ideas, and they might not know where to start.
Yeah.
Since you went through some of the process, can you share, if they were to replicate your success, what are the steps that they absolutely should take, and then some that might be just a waste of their time?
Sure. At the very beginning, when you think you have a great idea, first of all, have more than just one. Like when I was starting companies, this was not my only idea. I had ideas every week. I wrote them all down.
Okay.
Get into the habit of thinking about ideas, thinking about business ideas, write them down, have 10, 20 different ideas. And the second is bring them to your local business center, your local business librarian. In my case, in college, it was the Blackstone Launchpad.
Okay.
Find business people, find mentors who will talk to you about your ideas. Ideas in a vacuum don't get better. Ideas with other people get better, get more refined, get more investor ready. So go to your business center, go to your librarian, talk about your ideas, find someone who's willing to listen to you and form these things. The third is find a team. Find other people who believe in what you're doing, who have different skills than you have. And then the fourth is, go out and look for capital. Go out and look for money to fund your idea. You can't eat ramen forever. You gotta bring in some capital. So look for accelerator programs, look for grants, look for government funding, look for investors. Start sharing your idea with the world. Ideas are cheap. They're not really worth anything. No one's gonna steal your idea. No one cares. What's hard is execution. It's hard to build a company, to execute on a vision, to file patents, do the work. That's the hard part. The idea part's easy. I wish I would know how to know. I wish I would have known that 5 years ago.
Well, hey, we all start somewhere.
Indeed.
And you clearly are ahead of many.
We're all on our own journey, right?
Well, absolutely. Were there moments where you would think we're gonna go straight? This won't work.
Huh?
Were there moments where you would think this won't work?
Absolutely. There were definitely moments where I thought this isn't. A company is only finished when you decide to give up. Other than that, it's still alive. And I made myself a promise at the very beginning that I wouldn't give up. That the company would fail because we made it was the wrong market or the wrong product or the wrong time. But I made myself a promise the company was not going to fail because I was going to give up. I think that's a strong commitment to make to yourself because it's going to get hard. And there's going to be times when you don't think it's possible. And in those moments, you have to just keep looking for new solutions. In the early days, we didn't have a lot of science and amazing PhD in a technical team. My mother would call me and say, Zimri, You know, I said, Mom, do you think the company's going to succeed? She says, not really. You don't have any science. She was totally right, you know. But we didn't give up. We raised more money. We came to Texas. We hired scientists who are now, you know, our team members and partners. And so we kept working on those things. I kept getting feedback like that. There were times that, you know, we absolutely had a lot of setbacks like that, and we didn't think it was possible to continue. But you know, you sit in that moment. If you still feel the same way a week, 2 weeks later, okay, maybe you should call it quits.
Okay.
But never make that decision in the moment. Sit, think about it. Wait a week, wait 2 weeks. A month later, are you still in the same situation? Do you still have the same thoughts? Or maybe you come up with a new plan to not give up, to try something different. As long as you have money in the bank and energy,
Yeah.
there's always another chance.
That's good. So what moves you?
What moves me?
Yeah, what drives you?
I care about what we're doing. I care about creating cleaner, better, more sustainable materials every day. I want a better future for the world. I want to feel like what I'm doing is meaningful, and it is. That motivates me, that wakes me up this morning at 5:30.
Well, you got your workout in, you see.
We're starting the day right.
Yeah.
So the mission motivates me. Also, I have an intrinsic, I want to be great, I want to do great things for the world. So I'm motivated by my personal need for, you know,
Be a better person.
to be a better person.
What's next for Reom?
We're filming this really cool commercial at Houston Rodeo. Check that out. We're raising more money. We're raising another round of financing. We're growing the team, and we're getting, you know, product market fit. We're putting products in the market that hopefully consumers can buy very, very soon. So, like, think about leather jackets, think about leather aprons, think about sunglasses, think about high.
Looking forward to that.
For sure, me too. Think about high heels and the hard part of the high heel, we're doing that. So we got a lot of really exciting products that we're collaborating with brands on that consumers hopefully will be able to buy this year. So that's kind of some fun things that we have coming up.
That's cool. I like how you're keeping it diverse, the same as Houston is diverse. Your company, your products are diverse too. I hope it will continue and it will start bringing you profit, so you know those investors can start getting their money back.
Absolutely. And hopefully even more than what they put in.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's always the goal, right?
Many more times, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for running with us this morning, for getting up early. I could definitely hear that the early days of the military and that how military cultivate that mission focus, mission success, everything is there for a mission.
Yep.
You definitely took the best out of that experience, so thank you to your parents.
Thank you to my parents.
And I wish you success and feel less lonely, get good team.
Guys, I already feel less lonely.
Yay!
I feel less lonely every day.
Mission accomplished.
We did it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Zimri.
It was my pleasure.
Absolutely enjoyed it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. A hug.
See ya.
We hope this episode will inspire you to stay active and never give up.